Hey cool people, I'm Nick, I'm a he, him. Today we're going to revisit the first game and it gets worse. Since my brain is embiggened by math, I'm going to compare the PS2 Kingdom Hearts 1 mechanically to the PlayStation 3 HD 1.5 remix. Now by mechanically, I mean how different things are, such as damage formulas, critical hits, Ansem's washboard abs. But I'm not above pointing out anything my ADHD-riddled brain notices as we go along. So strike the like button or my sentient chalkboard will find you. Today, we'll dive to the heart of the tutorial. Except I'm lying, because differences show up as early as when we turn the games on. First and most obvious, PS2, which I'll refer to as vanilla from here on, is in 4:3 aspect ratio, but PS3 is in 16:9. Next, Square LLC shows up beforehand for vanilla, and we see the Disney Interactive got a new logo in 1.5. Vanilla has the Squaresoft logo, whereas the 1.5 version boasts Square Enix. And because of reasons I don't care to learn about, Square and Enix had a merger in 2003. And then this copyright page is largely the same, except 1.5 is missing this touchstone bit, and Square Enix added this blurb about trademark. When we actually load the title, we see two separate pieces of art, Beach for vanilla, and Wind for 1.5. Both have new game and load, but it feels a little pedantic to mention 1.5 says Square Enix instead of Squaresoft and has back as an option. Of note, the 2002 Final Mix also didn't have back as an option, but instead had a special movie for Final Fantasy X2. Now I want to touch on this briefly. I won't really be bringing up Final Mix from 2002 because 1.5 is almost exactly the same. So when like an oddball thing is specific to 1.5 but not the OG Final Mix, it'll be future Nick's problem. Back to it. There's also what I'll call a trailer that plays if we wait on the title screen. The font is different in vanilla, more of a serif font, whereas 1.5 has some sort of cursive. And yes, eagle-eyed viewers will note that this is Kairi's letter from Kingdom Hearts 2. Did you also know you can freeze the bubbles in hot? Despite the names in this trailer showing up at the same time, Sora is moving slower on vanilla. But otherwise, it's largely the same until 1.5 suddenly shows Ursula's tentacle, where vanilla did not, pushing this one little spot out of sync. Fun facts are over. Let's actually get into the game. Starting a new game, we have our first piece of actual mechanical differences. In vanilla, we get select your difficulty between normal and expert. Normal has no buffs or debuffs, gets no ending battle report, and we can only see Another Side, Another Story secret ending by beating the Hades Cup, getting all 99 puppies, and sealing every keyhole. She sided on my keyhole till In expert mode, enemies deal double damage, there's a post-game battle report, and the player only needs to beat the game to unlock the secret ending. While in 1.5, beginner mode is added, and the difficulties have little descriptions. Something I'll elaborate on later, 1.5 also has a second secret ending called Another Side, Another Story Deep Dive. Beginner mode comes with ribbon and EXP necklace as starting accessories, 8 power-ups, 8 defense ups, and 4 AP ups. Drill Gummy has 9,999 attack power instead of 35. Not that anyone cares about the Gummy ship. FMBG will be at the top right of the file. No battle report, and we cannot unlock either secret ending on this difficulty. Final Mix mode is this game's normal mode, where unlike vanilla, the Gummy ship takes double damage, does a third of its intended damage, KHFM is written on the save file, and while Another Side, Another Story has the same requirements as vanilla, Deep Dive requires full journal completion. She was deep in my journal till I died. Proud mode is this game's expert mode. All damage sources do double damage, Gummy ship deals half damage, takes quadruple damage, FMPR is on the save file, first secret ending is the same as vanilla, while Deep Dive secret ending requires sealing every keyhole and beating the Hades Cup. Once we select our difficulty, 1.5 allows us to decide if we want automatic or manual camera, vanilla does not, but just simply don't use automatic longer than you have to. For the pre-rendered AMV intro, the logos are different as mentioned prior, this time with an updated audio, and the rest of the AMV is actually completely unchanged, so rest easy, our precious Planet B remix remains intact. You'll even notice for the 1.5 version of Sora, aside from being wide and my Elgato cranking the contrast, he's actually the exact same between both versions. Easiest to see in this shot where he reaches for Kairi. Compare that to when we load in. It's easiest to see here during so little time, the Sora model has a new face. It's not just wider, the eyes, cheeks, and lips are different. But why? Well, Kite, a modder determined to put Ventus in every Kingdom Hearts game, has informed me that this is because 1.5 actually reskins vanilla Sora with the Dream Drop Distance version, keeping the same rig and bones and insides, but replacing the outer layer with an updated, well, skin. I also want to draw attention to the thick lines on the Snow White platform, easiest seen here where Sora is walking forward. You'll find this is consistent with all the platforms, they just have these huge thick outlines in vanilla and I have no idea why. Anyway, once the weapons appear, we get our first mechanically heavy section, the weapon choice. Now here's essentially what they do. Choosing a weapon sets the order of abilities, while choosing and sacrificing sets our starting stats. By the way, did you know that you can freeze the bubbles? And however, starting stats don't differ between versions, but abilities definitely do. The final mix abilities Sora can acquire by leveling are Slapshot, Sliding Dash, Stun Impact, Ripple Drive, Hurricane Blast, Leaf Bracer, Tech Boost, and a 1.5 exclusive Combo Master as well. But it's not just the new abilities. The order of abilities was completely shifted, as you can see here. My favorite thing, ready? Favorite thing right here. It's so great. Your favorite thing, you're gonna love it. They changed when Sora gets second chance, right? When using Dream Rod, you're gonna love this. When using Dream Rod, Vanilla, it's my favorite thing, Vanilla gets it at level 48, while 1.5 gets it at level 90. Once our weapons are chosen and sacrificed, we'll move on to the Cinderella platform. Nice big lines you got there, mama. Oddly, this scene where the shadows spawn is faster in 1.5, but otherwise, the dive shadows are actually completely unchanged, even in their stat blocks, which I will show now. As for these dialogue boxes in the 1.5 version, you can press X and triangle to skip dialogue faster, or in vanilla you can do the same with X and R3. I also noticed in 1.5 there's a missing keychain noise that plays while Sora is looking around, heard pretty clearly during the lock-on tutorial.
Boy, I really hope somebody got fired for that blunder.
Next is the pink station. Another mechanical difference, 1.5 introduces reaction commands, where it does not exist in vanilla or 2002 Final Mix. The creator of Refined, Topaz TK, made a mod that returns the 1.5 menu back to the vanilla menu, and he found out that the 1.5 reaction command is all smoke and mirrors, and it mechanically hasn't changed at all. As an example, Talk has 9 checks to make sure it functions properly, because it's still in the first slot, even in 1.5, but the devs painted over it, and a ton of checks were placed over the code to make sure the player doesn't see the wrong thing and doesn't miss input. Secretly, this is all a plot by Big Square to make us think that Kingdom Hearts 1 has reaction commands, but it doesn't. As for this area, the only difference is vanilla allows us to switch targets with L2 and R2, but 1.5 only lets us use L2. Once we're done there, we enter the question room, and some of the tutorial text explaining how to talk has been switched or shortened. As for the questions themselves, essentially we'll always end up with adventure begins at dawn, adventure begins at midday, or adventure begins at the dead of night, and those routes determine our level pace. I made my March Caprice video about how those paces don't curve at level 50, like we were previously led to believe, but as to not repeat myself, look at this graph! Using Dead of Night as our most obvious one, in vanilla, it would be slow from level 1 to 29, average from 30 to 36, fast from 37 to 84, then average from 85 to 100. But in 1.5, it's now slow from level 1 to 26, average from 27 to 35, fast from 36 to 59, and average again from 60 to 100. So yeah, they made it worse. And not for nothing, just to correct another thing I said in my March Caprice video, Dawn is actually slow from level 34 to 56, then average from 57 to 100. Also, 1.5 hates birds. Once we answer the questions, we'll enter the Aurora station. And in both games, we can run to the opposite side of the platform to exit combat and open the pause menu early. Note, the one thing I left out when explaining the difficulties is this ability right here. EXP0, which is exclusive to 1.5. And it's got deeper mechanics than you've likely been led to believe. Shout out to the game man of color for explaining a good bit of this info to me. EXP0 stops all progression of EXP and applies this math formula to enemies with over 300 HP. This formula, we'll call it Tier 1, is also applied to magic after Sora does a basic melee attack. But there's a secondary formula called Tier 2, which most people know as damage storage, and it looks like this. Double damage is basically the long and short of it, save for a few instances. This is the damage finishers will do, and any normal finisher will apply to magic damage as well. Tier 1 and Tier 2 also work on stop. All of that happens until Sora does another melee hit. EXP0 also decreases damage against Sora and sometimes party members, and has a built-in second chance if Sora is at full HP. One last thing to note, if Sora is able to do damage above what the formula provides, then the formula is negated entirely. Leaving the math behind us, for now, the config menu removes the sound option from Vanilla and replaces it with the alternate camera directions, and something I forgot about, when we save, Vanilla has a little box on the side letting us know how much space we have left on our memory card. And yes, I have pack bonded with the rectangle. So this is love. Now then, defeating the enemies, hitting the save point, running up the stairs, noticing they disappear, and reaching Darkside is all about the same. Except, as I've been alluding to, you can hear 1.5's larger emphasis on music, whereas Vanilla has a larger emphasis on sound effects. Listen to this scene of the steps appearing in each version. And of course, 1.5 can skip cutscenes while Vanilla can't. If you've seen this video, you'll know Vanilla actually does have the tools to do it. It is just turned off so that we could all be traumatized by Riku. So, I shall release you now, princess. Complete the keyhole with your power. Open the door, lead me into everlasting darkness. Sora. Forget it. There's no way you're taking Kyrie's heart. And the music for this cutscene is actually off time because in Vanilla, 2 syllables overlapped one another. Once we start the Darkside fight, fun fact, we can parry the Darkside's Dark Punch. And these are the stats for Darkside in both versions. And actually, one quick thing, Sora getting swallowed after the fight is another perfect shot to show how different the Sora model looks in Vanilla compared to 1.5. Oh, and before I forget, if we lose to Darkside in 1.5, the music will stay the combat music, but losing to Darkside in Vanilla, it actually will return to the calm music. Speaking of music, I didn't mention it at the time, but at the title screen, the piano is sharper in Vanilla, and the waves are louder. The voices in the non-combat Destati is also clearly MIDI in Vanilla, while they're actual people in 1.5. Yoko Shimomura redid most, if not all, of the music for the HD 1.5 remix, and as I've been pointing out, the devs updated quite a few other things as well. But I want to stress, updated. There's this pervasive myth I want to dispel about Square losing the source code of Final Mix and basically having to remake it for 1.5. This isn't true. They remade, reused, and updated assets into HD. The textures, the sounds, the character models, not the source code itself. How do we know this? Firstly, Kite pointing out Sora's model is a reskin proves they still have the rig and its code from Vanilla, so that's not lost. Secondly, Topaz TK pointing out the 1.5 menu works the same as the Vanilla menu, but with a new coat of paint, proves they have the code for that. Thirdly, looking at these dark side shots side by side, this is 1-to-1. It even attacks at the exact same times. Keep in mind, the PS3 version came out 11 years after the PS2 version. You'd expect some things would have been forgotten, changed, updated, adjusted. In a Tai Yusue interview about the development, he mentions there were only 5 programmers working on 1.5, and most of the original Final Mix team wasn't involved. To put this into perspective, it'd be like if you wrote a book that was turned into a movie, and your friends, without ever having read your book, those jerks, tried to rewrite your book perfectly by watching the movie. It's not happening. The only way Square could be this exact is if they had the code. Fourthly, there's some bugs they didn't fix that you'd expect a new source code would. For instance, Stealth Army's glitch of staying alive even though it's at 1 HP or supposed to have been beaten, and passing through the alleyway bars during the Trinity introduction cutscene. Is it more likely that their attention to detail is so great they'd find a way to recreate these minuscule bugs, or that they had the source code? Lastly, I want to read Nomura's quote about the situation that I think causes the misinformation. Kingdom Hearts 1 was created a long time ago, so actually the original data was lost. So we had to research and we had to dig out from the actual games available and recreate everything for HD. We had to recreate graphics, and it was actually not that easy. So I get the confusion here. Nomura explicitly states original data was lost and recreate everything. But here's the kicker. Data is actually the key word here. So what is data? Data is basically fucking anything. It's a filler word that has no context until it's given some, because just about anything can be data. One of my quality assurance people said, Nomura getting an iced coffee on day 72 could be data. So if that's the case, let's see what Nomura defines as data. He says, recreated graphics. Not source code, but graphics. And it is documented that they made HD graphics for just about everything in the game, and they, as Nomura put it, dug out from the actual games available, aka Dream Drop models for Sora and Ansem, as well as BBS models for Aurora, Snow White, and Cinderella. So what Nomura is actually saying here is, we lost the graphical assets, we had to dig new models and textures out of other games, and make new ones for this HD remaster. However, some of us may know that Square has legitimately lost source code before, with Final Fantasy Tactics, because, to paraphrase, they never expected to be putting games on next-gen consoles, so they just didn't preserve that kind of stuff. But I don't think this is the case for Kingdom Hearts, because they never lost the source code for Final Fantasy X, which came out a year before Kingdom Hearts 1. Add that with how perfectly everything matches up, with cutscenes, attack patterns, bugs, and the stuff the modders have said, I think we can pretty confidently say Square did not lose the source code for Kingdom Hearts Final Mix, but instead lost graphics, had to make new ones, and take some from other games. Also, Nomura outright calls it a remaster, so there's that. Special thanks to PJ for providing me with the dev interviews. I'll link those sources in the description, and then I'll go touch some grass. If you want to support me and my terrible jokes, feel free to support me on Patreon with these lovely folks. Thanks so much for watching. Goodbye!